Welcome to Night Whisper. Night Whisper brings you the darkest tales from the shadows. Join our community. Subscribe, leave a like, and prepare yourself for stories that will haunt your dreams. How do you feel when you inherit something you don't want? I experienced those feelings because of the Desert Rose Motel, which I inherited from my family. It's a motel on the most desolate stretch of Highway 50, known as America's Loneliest Road. My family has run it since 1962. My grandfather built this motel with his own hands, believing the nearby silver mines would operate forever. Unfortunately, things didn't go as planned. But the motel survived anyway, catering to the occasional lost traveler, the odd conspiracy theorist heading to Area 51, and one very particular family that's been coming here for as long as I can remember. The Covenant of Seven, my mother used to call them, though never to their faces. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning, because if I don't tell someone about this, I'm going to lose my mind. And if something happens to me, at least there'll be a record of the truth. My name is Jordan Martinez, and 3 months ago, I became the sole owner of a roadside motel that's been serving vampires for over 60 years. The first time I noticed something was wrong, I was 12 years old. It was late August, the kind of scorching Nevada heat that makes the asphalt shimmer like water and turns the inside of our motel rooms into ovens if you don't keep the AC cranked. My mom had sent me to room 7 with fresh towels, the same room the 7 always stayed in during their visits. They came every year like clockwork, always the last week of August, always the same 7 people. There was the patriarch, tall and severe with silver hair slicked back from a face that looked carved from marble. The matriarch stood beside him, elegant in a way that seemed from another era, always wearing gloves, even in the desert heat. Then came the middle couple, quieter, always watching. The 2 teenagers, a boy and girl who never smiled, never laughed, never did anything teenagers should do. And finally, the child. The child was the one who scared me most, though I couldn't tell you why back then. She looked about 8 years old, with dark curls and enormous eyes that seemed to swallow light rather than reflect it. That August afternoon when I was 12, I knocked on room 7, and the child answered. "Fresh towels," I stammered, holding them out. She stared at me for a long moment, then stepped aside to let me in. The room was freezing. They always kept it Arctic cold, my dad said, which was weird, but hey, the customer's always right. What struck me wasn't the temperature, though. It was the smell. Copper. Sharp and metallic, like pennies left in the sun. And underneath it, something else. Something that reminded me of the meat locker at Hartley's butcher shop back in town. "You can put them in the bathroom," the child said, her voice flat and eerily adult. I hurried past the main room, trying not to stare at the blackout curtains they'd hung over our already heavy drapes or the "Do Not Disturb" signs stacked on the dresser. In the bathroom, I froze. The bathtub was spotless white, gleaming, but around the drain, I could see a faint rust-colored ring, and in the sink, diluted pink water was slowly dripping away. "Thank you," the child said from directly behind me. I jumped, nearly dropping the towels. She was right there, close enough that I should have felt her breath on my neck, but I felt nothing. No warmth, no breath, nothing. "You're welcome," I managed, and got out of there as fast as I could. That night at dinner, I asked my parents about the 7. Who are they? Why do they always come here? My mother's fork paused halfway to her mouth. My father didn't look up from his plate. "Old family friends," Dad finally said. "They've been coming here since before you were born." "But they never age," I pressed. "The teenagers look exactly the same as they did 5 years ago." The child— "That's enough, Jordan." My mother's voice was sharp. "Some guests value their privacy. We don't ask questions." The look she gave me made it clear the discussion was over. But I'd planted a seed in my own mind, and over the years, that seed grew into something dark and twisted. I left for college at 18, got a degree in hospitality management, ironic, I know, and spent my 20s working at hotels in Reno and Las Vegas. I told myself I'd never go back to the Desert Rose. That roadside motel in the middle of nowhere represented everything I wanted to escape. Then, my father had a heart attack. He survived, but the medical bills were crushing. My mother called me, her voice small and defeated in a way I'd never heard before. "We need help, Jordan. We can't run this place alone anymore." So I could back. Temporarily, I told myself. Just until they got back on their feet. That was 4 years ago. My father died 2 years later. Stroke, quick and brutal. My mother followed 6 months after that. The doctor said it was heart failure, but I knew better. She died of a broken heart, plain and simple. They left me everything. The motel, the house attached to it, and a letter. The letter was sealed with red wax and marked urgent. Read immediately. I opened it the night after my mother's funeral, sitting alone in the office with a bottle of bourbon. "Dear Jordan, if you're reading this, we're gone. We're sorry to leave you with this burden, but there was no other way. The Desert Rose is more than just a motel. It's a sanctuary, a haven, and you are now its keeper. The Covenant of Seven are not what they seem. By now, you've probably guessed as much. They are old, Jordan. Older than this country, older than this desert. They are what legends are made of, though the legends have the details wrong. They need us. Without the Desert Rose, without a safe place to rest during their journey across the country, they would be exposed, vulnerable. And if they fall, others will come, others who are not bound by the same restraints. Your grandfather made a pact with the patriarch in 1962. In exchange for safe harbor, they protect us. Protect this stretch of highway. Protect the town. Have you ever wondered why we've never had a murder here? Never had a missing person case? Never had anything worse than bar fights and petty theft? It's because of them. But the pact requires maintenance. Every year during their visit, you must provide them with room 7. You must ask no questions. You must clean the room yourself after they leave. And you must never, ever speak of what you find there. In the safe behind the front desk, combination 08-14-62, the day the pact was made, you'll find payment. They leave it every year. It's more than enough to keep the motel running, to keep you comfortable. All you have to do is maintain the sanctuary. We're sorry we never told you. We wanted you to have a normal life, but this is your inheritance now, for better or worse. Love, Mom and Dad. P.S. Never invite them into your home. Never accept their gifts. Never ask them to turn you. These are the only rules that matter. I read the letter 3 times, then walked to the safe and opened it. Inside were stacks of bills, hundreds, 50s, all old but legal tender. I counted quickly. There had to be at least $50,000 in there. Blood money, I thought. Then I laughed, because of course it was. The 7 arrived on August 23rd, right on schedule. I was ready for them this time. I'd spent the week since reading my parents' letter doing research, digging through old newspapers, cross-referencing missing persons cases across the western United States. The pattern was there if you knew what to look for. Every year along the route the 7 traveled, there were disappearances. Not many, just 1 or 2 per state. Always drifters. Always people no one would miss. Hitchhikers, runaways, sex workers, the faceless dead, as one old newspaper article called them. And every year, about a week after the 7 left the Desert Rose, there'd be another disappearance, usually somewhere in California, their next stop. I heard their car before I saw it. A vintage 1959 Cadillac DeVille, black as midnight and pristine despite crossing the Nevada desert. It pulled into the parking lot at exactly 8:47 p.m., just as the sun was dipping below the mountains. The patriarch emerged first, unfolding from the driver's seat like a shadow gaining substance. He was tall, I'd forgotten how tall, and dressed in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my car. The others followed, the matriarch in her silk gloves and vintage dress, the middle couple looking like they'd stepped out of a 1980s catalog, the teenagers in clothes that were trying too hard to look current, and finally, the child. The child looked exactly the same as she had when I was 12. "Good evening," the patriarch said, his voice smooth and accentless. "I trust the room is ready?" "Room 7, I confirmed, holding out the key. Not a key card. They'd always insisted on old-fashioned metal keys. Same as always. His fingers brushed mine as he took it. They were cold. Not cool, not chilly. Cold like marble, like something that had never known warmth. "Your parents," the matriarch said suddenly. "They have passed." It wasn't a question. "Yes, ma'am. 6 months ago." She tilted her head, studying me with eyes that caught the last rays of sunlight and seemed to hold them. "You have our condolences. They were faithful servants." Something in the way she said servants made my skin crawl. "Thank you," I managed. The 7 moved toward room 7 in a group, never separating, always touching. I noticed that the child held the matriarch's hand, and the teenagers flanked the middle couple like guards. As they reached the door, the child turned back to look at me. "Your mother used to make us cookies," she said. "Chocolate chip. Will you do the same?" The question froze me. My mother had made cookies for them? I can try." The child smiled. It was the first time I'd ever seen any of them smile, and I immediately wished I hadn't. Too many teeth, too white, too sharp. "Don't bother," she said. "We can't eat them anyway." But your mother liked to pretend we were a normal family. It made her feel better about what she'd have to clean up later. Then she was gone, pulled into the room by the matriarch, and the door shut with a decisive click. I stood there in the parking lot for a long time, watching the sun disappear completely and the stars come out in their thousands. The desert night was cold, but I was colder. At 3:47 a.m., I woke to the sound of their car starting. I stumbled to the window and watched the Cadillac glide out of the parking lot, heading west on Highway 50. All 7 of them were inside. I could see their silhouettes through the windows. They wouldn't be back until dawn. This was my chance. I grabbed my keys and a flashlight and headed to room 7. My hands shook as I unlocked the door. What was I doing? My parents' letter had been clear. Ask no questions, see no evil. But I had to know. The room was dark, the blackout curtains making it impossible to see. I flicked on my flashlight and swept it across the space. Everything looked normal. The beds were untouched. They never slept in them. The TV was off. The mini-fridge hummed quietly in the corner. Then I pointed the light at the bathroom. The door was ajar, and I could see something dark on the white tile floor. I should have left. Should have locked the door and walked away and never looked back. But instead, I pushed the bathroom door open. The bathtub was full, not with water. Blood, dark, viscous, and still warm when I touched the porcelain edge with a shaking hand. It filled the tub almost to the brim, and floating in it were things. A shoe, strands of long hair, something that might have been a wallet. I staggered back, my flashlight beam dancing wildly across the walls. That's when I saw the symbols. They'd been drawn in blood on the mirror, dripping down in rust-colored trails, symbols I didn't recognize, angular and wrong, that hurt to look at directly. And beneath them, a message in perfect cursive. Thank you for your service. I ran back to my house, locked every door and window, and sat in my living room with all the lights on until dawn. When the sun came up, I watched through my window as the Cadillac returned. The 7 exited the vehicle slowly, moving with the careful precision of people who were very, very tired. The patriarch glanced toward my house, and even from a distance, I could see him smile. Then they went into room 7 and didn't emerge. At noon, I got a call from Sheriff Martinez. Yes, we share a last name, small town, lots of intermarriage generations back. Jordan, it's Tom. I need to ask you something. My throat went dry. What's up, Sheriff? You had any guests check in last night? Specifically anyone unusual? I thought about the letter. Never speak of what you find. Just some regulars, I said. Why? We got a call from California Highway Patrol. They're looking for a missing person, hitchhiker named Sarah Vance, last seen near the California-Nevada border 2 days ago. Young woman, 23, brown hair, about 5'6". The hair in the bathtub had been brown. Haven't seen anyone like that, I lied. Right. Well, if anyone matching that description comes through, give me a call, yeah? Of course. He hung up, and I sat there staring at my phone for a long time. Sarah Vance, 23 years old, someone's daughter, someone's friend, and now she was just gone. Reduced to strands of hair in a bathtub of blood. I thought about calling the sheriff back, telling him everything. But then what? Would he even believe me? And if he did, if he came here with deputies and warrants? The letter's warning echoed in my mind. If they fall, others will come. Others who are not bound by the same restraints. What did that mean? Were the 7 actually protecting us from something worse? At 6 p.m., there was a knock on my door. I opened it to find the child standing on my porch. Up close, in the fading daylight, I could see details I'd missed before. Her skin wasn't just pale. It was translucent, like porcelain, with faint blue veins visible beneath the surface. Her eyes, enormous and dark, didn't blink. "Hello, Jordan," she said. "May I come in?" Every instinct screamed at me to say no. The letter's warning, never invite them into your home. "I'd prefer to talk out here," I said, stepping onto the porch and pulling the door shut behind me. She smiled that too sharp smile again. "Smart. Your parents taught you well." "What do you want?" "To thank you, and to explain." "Explain what?" "What we are, what we do, and why you should continue your parents' work." She gestured to the plastic chairs on my porch. "May I sit? The sun is uncomfortable." I nodded, and we sat. "My name is Sierra," she said. "Though that's not the name I was born with. I was born in 1847 in a wagon train heading west to California. I died of cholera 6 months later, somewhere in the Utah desert." "You don't look dead," I said, then immediately felt stupid. "Don't I?" She held up her hand, and I saw that she cast no shadow in the dying light. "I've been 8 years old for 176 years, Jordan. I've watched empires rise and fall. I've seen technology transform the world, and I've been so hungry the entire time." "You kill people." "We feed," she corrected. "And yes, sometimes they die, but not always. The patriarch is very old, very controlled. He chooses carefully those who won't be missed, those who are already lost." "That doesn't make it right." "No," she agreed, "but it makes it necessary. Do you know what happens to vampires who don't feed regularly, who lose control?" I shook my head. "They become beasts, mindless, ravenous things that slaughter entire families, entire towns. The patriarch keeps us disciplined, keeps us human, or as close as we can be. And in exchange, we protect the territories we travel through." "Protect them from what?" Sierra's eyes darkened. "From others like us who have no such discipline. From the rogues and the ferals. from things that make us look tame. She leaned forward. Your grandfather understood this. So did your parents. The pact isn't just about giving us sanctuary. It's about keeping this entire region safe. By letting you murder people. By letting us feed in a controlled manner, yes. She stood. I know you're struggling with this. Your parents struggled too at first, but they came to understand that some evils are necessary to prevent greater ones. That's a hell of a justification. It's the only one we have. She moved toward the porch steps. We'll be leaving tomorrow at sunset. Please have room 7 cleaned by then. You'll find payment in the usual place. What if I refuse? What if I go to the police? Sierra paused, her back to me. Then the pact ends, and we'll have to find another sanctuary. But before we go, we'll have to ensure your silence. She turned, and her eyes were completely black now, no whites at all. And others will come, Jordan. Others who don't have the patriarch's restraint. This town of 3,000 people? It would be empty within a month. That's a threat. That's a promise. The blackness faded from her eyes. But it won't come to that. You're like your parents, practical. You'll do what needs to be done. She walked away, moving with an 8-year-old's gait, but an ancient thing's purpose. I sat on my porch until full dark, then went inside and locked every door. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat at my kitchen table with my father's old hunting rifle across my lap, watching the clock tick toward dawn. At some point around 4 a.m., I pulled out my laptop and started researching in earnest. Vampires. The word felt ridiculous even thinking it, like something from bad movies and worse TV shows. But the evidence was staring me in the face. A family that never aged, that only traveled at night, that left bathrooms full of blood and victims drained dry. What I found online was mostly garbage, folklore and fiction mixed together until it was impossible to tell where one ended and the other began. But there were patterns in the myths, rules that appeared across cultures and centuries. They couldn't enter a home uninvited. Check. Sierra had asked permission to come in. They were vulnerable to sunlight, possible. They only traveled at night and kept room 7 dark as a tomb. They needed to feed on blood, definitely check. But silver bullets? Holy water? Wooden stakes? Those seemed less certain. And more importantly, did I really want to try killing them? Because that's what it would come down to, wouldn't it? If I was going to break the pact, I'd have to eliminate the threat. All 7 of them. The thought made me sick. At 7 a.m., I forced myself to eat something, then gathered my cleaning supplies. The sun was fully up now, which meant they'd be dormant, vulnerable. If I was going to search room 7 properly, now was the time. The desert morning was already hot, the kind of dry heat that sucked moisture from your lungs. I unlocked room 7 and stepped inside. The smell hit me immediately, that copper meat smell I remembered from childhood, but stronger now, more concentrated. I gagged, pulling my shirt over my nose. The main room looked untouched, beds still made. Furniture exactly as I'd left it. But the bathroom? I steeled myself and pushed open the door. The bathtub had been drained. Someone, something, had cleaned it thoroughly, leaving only faint rust-colored stains around the drain. But the bathroom mirror still bore those stray. I pulled out my phone and photographed them. Maybe I could find a translation, figure out what they meant. Ange symbols, now dried to a dark brown. Then I noticed the closet. It was slightly ajar, which was weird because we didn't put anything in the room closets. I approached slowly, rifle in one hand, phone in the other. When I pulled the door open, I found them. All 7 of the Covenant, arranged in the closet like suits on hangers. They stood perfectly still, eyes closed, not breathing. The patriarch and matriarch in the back, the middle couple in front of them, the teenagers on either side, and Sierra at the very front. They looked like mannequins, like props from a wax museum. I could have reached out and touched Sierra's face, and I don't think she would have noticed. I did something incredibly stupid then. I stepped closer, close enough to see the details. Their skin was alabaster white, bloodless. Their clothes, which had looked normal last night, were actually much older, vintage pieces that had been carefully maintained. The patriarch's suit was from the 1940s at least. The matriarch's dress was even older, and they weren't breathing. Literally not breathing. I watched Sierra's chest for a full minute and saw no movement whatsoever. Dead. They were corpses, standing upright in my motel room closet. I was backing away, my heart hammering, when Sierra's eyes opened. Black. Completely black, like holes into nothing. I froze. She stared at me for what felt like an eternity, then her lips moved, forming a single word without sound. Leave. I left. Slammed the door, locked it, and practically ran back to my house. At 2 p.m., Sheriff Martinez called again. "Jordan, I need you to come down to the station." My blood went cold. "Why? What's wrong?" "Just need to ask you some questions. It's about Sarah Vance." "I told you I haven't seen her." "I know, but we found her car, abandoned on Highway 50, about 2 miles west of your motel, and there's something weird about it." "Weird how?" "Just come down, okay? It'll be easier to show you." I had no choice. If I refused, it would look suspicious. So I drove into town, my mind racing the entire way. The station was a small building on Main Street, barely more than an office with holding cells in the back. Sheriff Martinez met me at the door, his expression grave. "Thanks for coming in. Follow me." He led me to a conference room where photos were spread across the table. Crime scene photos. "This is Sarah Vance's car," he said, pointing to a picture of a beat-up Honda Civic. "Found it this morning, keys still in the ignition, purse on the passenger seat, phone dead on the dashboard." "Okay," I said slowly. "What's weird about that?" He pulled out another photo. This. The interior of the car, the driver's seat and steering wheel were covered in blood. Not splattered, covered, like someone had been murdered in the driver's seat and left to bleed out. "Jesus," I whispered. "Yeah, but here's the thing. There's no body, and the blood, it's weird." He pulled out a report. "We had it tested. It's human blood, definitely, but it's been drained of something. The lab tech said it looks like it's been processed, like blood that's been stored for transfusions. All the platelets and plasma separated out." "What does that mean?" "Hell if I know. But the car was found right on your stretch of highway, Jordan. Right in your motel's territory." He leaned forward. "You're absolutely sure you didn't see this woman? Brown hair, 5'6", 23 years old." I thought about the hair in the bathtub. I thought about Sierra's words. Those who won't be missed. Those who are already lost. "I'm sure," I lied. Sheriff Martinez studied my face for a long moment, then sighed. "All right. But if you remember anything at all, you call me immediately. We're treating this as a potential homicide now." "Of course." He walked me out, but at the door he grabbed my arm. "Jordan, your parents, they ever tell you anything about the Desert Rose? About why certain guests always came back?" My heart stopped. "What do you mean?" "I've been sheriff here for 15 years, and in those 15 years, I've noticed a pattern. Every August you get the same 7 guests, and every August around the same time, someone goes missing on Highway 50. Usually someone passing through, usually someone no one reports for weeks." He released my arm. "Your parents were good people, but they were hiding something. And now they're gone, and you're running the place, and I need to know. Are you hiding it too?" I could have told him, could have spilled everything right there. But I thought about Sierra's warning. Others will come. This town would be empty within a month. "I don't know what you're talking about, Sheriff." He stared at me for a long moment, then nodded. "All right, get out of here. But watch yourself, Jordan. Whatever your parents were mixed up in, it got them killed." Heart attack and heart failure, my ass. They died scared. I drove back to the motel in a daze. Were they scared? Had the Covenant killed them? No, the timeline didn't work. My parents died in winter, months after the Seven's annual visit. Unless the Covenant had other ways of killing, long-distance ways. I was so lost in thought that I almost didn't notice the car in my parking lot, a silver sedan with rental plates, parked right in front of the office. A guest, a normal, human guest. I parked and went inside, putting on my customer service smile. A man stood at the counter, early 40s, tired-looking, with a laptop bag over his shoulder. "Hi," he said. "Do you have any rooms available?" "Sure do. How many nights?" "Just one. I'm heading to Carson City for business, but I'm way too tired to drive any further today." Normal. Completely normal. I felt something in my chest unclench. "No problem. I can set you up in room 3. It's... Actually," he interrupted, "is room 7 available? I stayed there last time I passed through and I really liked it." Everything inside me went cold. "You've been here before?" "Yeah, maybe 5 years ago." "Great room, really quiet." 5 years ago, August, when the 7 were here. "Room 7 is occupied," I said quickly, "but room 3 is identical. The people in room 7, are they the same group that was here 5 years ago? Tall guy, woman in gloves, some kids?" My hand moved toward the rifle I'd hidden under the counter. "Why do you ask?" He pulled out a business card and slid it across the counter. "Richard Thorne, investigative journalist, Los Angeles Times." "Because I've been tracking them for 3 years," he said, "and I think they're serial killers." I stared at the business card, then at Richard Thorne, then back at the card. "I don't know what you're talking about," I said automatically. "Yes, you do." He pulled out his laptop and opened it on the counter. "Look, this is Highway 50, the loneliest road in America, and this," he pointed to a map covered in red pins, "is every unsolved disappearance along this route in the last 20 years. There had to be 50 pins, maybe more. And this," he continued, opening a spreadsheet, "is a timeline. Notice anything?" I looked. Every disappearance was dated, and they were clustered, groups of 3 or 4 within a few days of each other, then months of nothing, then another cluster. And every cluster was in late August. "They travel this route every year," Thorne said. "I've confirmed it. August 15th to September 1st, every single year, they drive from Nevada to California, stopping at small motels and roadside inns, and people disappear. That doesn't prove they're killers. It's just a coincidence." "Is it?" He pulled up a photo on his laptop. "This is from a traffic camera in Ely, Nevada, 3 years ago, August 23rd, 11:47 p.m. The image showed the Cadillac DeVille at a stoplight, and in the background, partially visible, was a woman getting into the back seat. That's Julie Richardson, 28, hitchhiker, traveling cross-country. She disappeared that night. Her body was never found." He pulled up another photo. "This is from Tonopah, 2 years ago. Same car, same date, different victim." He had photos from 6 different years, 6 different locations. Always the Cadillac. Always a victim getting in or being led away. "Even if this is all true," I said carefully, "what do you want from me?" "Information. Confirmation. You're running a family business, which means you have records, guest books, receipts, anything that shows these people have been coming here for years. We're supposed to protect guest privacy. These aren't guests, Jordan. They're predators, and you're helping them." The accusation stung because it was true. "I don't have a choice," I said quietly. Thorne's expression shifted from accusatory to sympathetic. "They threatened you?" I thought about Sierra's warning, about the patriarch's cold smile, about the pact my grandfather had made 60 years ago. Something like that. Then, help me stop them. Help me expose what they are. You don't understand. They're not just killers. They're... I stopped myself. They're... what? I couldn't say it. Couldn't say the word vampire to a journalist from the LA Times. He'd think I was insane. Dangerous, I finished lamely. Very dangerous. And protected. Protected by who? Before I could answer, the door to the office opened. The patriarch stood in the doorway, backlit by the setting sun. He was wearing sunglasses now and a wide-brimmed hat, but I could still see the edges of his skin starting to redden. "Good evening," he said pleasantly. "I hope we're not interrupting." Richard Thorne turned, saw the patriarch, and his hand moved toward his pocket. "You." "Me," the patriarch agreed. "And you are the journalist, Richard Thorne. I've been reading your articles. Quite persistent, aren't you?" "I know what you are. I know what you've done." "Do you?" The patriarch stepped inside, and I noticed he was careful to stay in the shadows. "And what exactly do you think I am, Mr. Thorne?" "A serial killer. A predator who uses that car and that family as cover to hunt along America's empty roads." The patriarch smiled. So close, but not quite. He moved faster than I could track. One moment he was by the door, the next he was standing beside Thorne, one pale hand on the journalist's shoulder. Thorne tried to move away, but the patriarch's grip was iron. "You've been very clever," the patriarch said softly. "Collecting evidence, building a case. But you've made one critical error." "What's that?" "You came here alone. You didn't tell anyone where you were going. You're not expected in Carson City until tomorrow." His smile widened, showing too many teeth. "You're already a missing person, Mr. Thorne. You just don't know it yet." "Let him go," I said, my hand closing on the rifle under the counter. The patriarch glanced at me. "Or what? You'll shoot me? Please do try." I pulled out the rifle and aimed it at his head. He laughed. "Iron and lead, how quaint." He looked back at Thorne. "Your car's the silver sedan, yes? License plate 8K, JF923? Thorne's face went white. "Sierra's out there now collecting your things. Your laptop, your phone, your research, all of it will disappear. And you, Mr. Thorne, will have one of two choices." "Fuck you," Thorne spat. "Such language. Your choices are these. Option 1, you leave now, drive away, forget everything you've seen and learned. We'll allow you to live, though you'll find your evidence has mysteriously vanished. Option 2, the patriarch's eyes went black. Option 2, you become part of our collection. Another missing person on Highway 50, another unsolved case." "There's a third option," I said, my finger on the rifle trigger. "Is there?" The patriarch didn't even look at me. "Do you really think you can kill all 7 of us before we kill both of you? Do you think your little gun will stop us?" He had a point. Even if I shot him, there were 6 others, and they were fast, impossibly fast. "Let me propose a 4th option," the patriarch continued. "Mr. Thorne, you're clearly a man of intelligence and curiosity. Perhaps instead of exposing us, you'd like to understand us. Join us for dinner tonight. Learn what we really are, and then decide whether your crusade is worth pursuing." "I'm not having dinner with a murderer. Suit yourself." The patriarch released him and stepped back. "You have until sunset to decide. Stay and learn the truth, or leave and live in ignorance. But choose quickly, Mr. Thorne. The sun is almost down." He walked out, moving with liquid grace, and was gone. Thorne staggered to the counter, his face pale. "Jesus Christ, what the hell was that?" "That was him being polite," I said. "Usually they just take what they want. We have to call the police." "And tell them what? That a man in a funny suit grabbed your shoulder? Sheriff Martinez already thinks I'm hiding something. If we call him now, he'll come out here, ask questions, and maybe the patriarch will decide to clean up all the loose ends at once. So what do we do?" I looked out the window. The sun was touching the horizon now, painting the desert red and gold. In maybe 20 minutes, it would be fully dark. "I don't know," I admitted, "but we need to figure it out fast." Thorne pulled out his phone, then cursed. No signal. There's never any goddamn signal out here. Landline's on the desk. But Thorne, they meant what they said about collecting your evidence. If you call anyone, if you try to expose them, they'll know. And they'll kill you. He stared at the phone for a long moment, then looked at me. How long has your family been helping them? 62 years? Since 1962. And in all that time, no one's tried to stop them? My parents tried to protect people. They'd warn hitchhikers, tell travelers to avoid this stretch of road during late August. It helped, sometimes. But they never tried to fight the Seven directly. Why not? I thought about the letter. If they fall, others will come. Because they're the lesser evil, I said quietly. At least that's what my parents believed. The sun touched the horizon. We had maybe 15 minutes of twilight left. I'm not leaving, Thorne said suddenly. I've spent 3 years tracking these bastards. I'm not running now. Then you're gunsing it to die. Maybe. But maybe I can finally get proof, real proof, not just circumstantial evidence. He looked at me. You said they're not just killers. What did you mean? I took a deep breath. How do you feel about the supernatural, Mr. Thorne? His eyes widened. You're not serious. Vampires. They're vampires, all 7 of them. He stared at me for a long moment, then started laughing. Hysterical, slightly manic laughter. Vampires. Of course. Of course they're fucking vampires. He laughed until tears ran down his face. I've been hunting serial killers for 3 years and they're actually goddamn vampires. Keep your voice down, I hissed. He wiped his eyes. Okay, vampires. Fine. How do we kill them? I don't know. I've been researching, but most of it's just folklore. Silver might work. Sunlight definitely works. They're vulnerable during the day. But there are 7 of them, and 2 of us, and they're faster and stronger than you can imagine. So we're screwed. Probably. The sun disappeared. Full dark came fast in the desert, and from room 7, I heard the door open. They came for us at 8 p.m., all 7 of them, walking across the parking lot in a straight line like some kind of twisted family portrait. The patriarch led, the matriarch at his side. The middle couple followed. Then, the teenagers. And finally, Sierra, who waved at me with a child's cheerful gesture that was completely at odds with the predatory gleam in her eyes. Richard Thorne stood beside me at the office window, his phone in his hand recording video. Stop, I told him. They'll know. Let them know. The world needs to see this. The patriarch reached the office door and stopped. He didn't try to enter. Instead, he knocked, 3 deliberate raps against the glass. I opened the door, but stood in the threshold, blocking entry. Good evening, Jordan, the patriarch said. We'd like to have that dinner conversation now. Will you and Mr. Thorne join us? We're fine here, thanks. I insist. His eyes went black. Or we can come in and collect you. This is my home, I said, my voice shaking. You can't enter without permission. But the office isn't your home, is it? It's a place of business, public accommodation. He smiled. The protections don't apply. Shit, he was right. What do you want? Thorne demanded, still holding his phone up. To talk, to explain, to offer you both a choice. The patriarch glanced at the phone. You can record this if you like, Mr. Thorne, though I doubt anyone will believe it. He had a point. Even with video evidence, who would believe vampires were real? Thorne lowered the phone slightly. What kind of choice? The same choice we've offered countless others. Join us or die. Simple, really. I'll never join you, Thorne said. Never is such a long time, Mr. Thorne. I should know. I've lived it. The patriarch turned to me. Jordan, your grandfather was a wise man. He understood that some bargains are worth making. Your parents understood too eventually. Will you be as wise? My parents died scared, I said, remembering the sheriff's words. You killed them. No, the matriarch said, her voice like silk. They died of very human ailments. We had nothing to do with it. But they knew, Sierra added. They knew what we were, what they'd been enabling all those years. The guilt ate at them. Your mother especially. You're monsters, I said. Yes, the patriarch agreed calmly. But we're honest monsters. We take only what we need. We choose carefully. We don't waste or torture or destroy for pleasure. Can humanity say the same? That's not. You're still murderers. Are we? Or are we predators, simply feeding as nature intended? He gestured to the desert around us. The coyote kills the rabbit. The hawk kills the mouse. We kill humans. It's the natural order. Bullshit, Thorne said. Humans aren't prey. Aren't they? The teenager boy spoke for the first time, his voice rough and unused. You slaughter each other by the millions. Wars, genocides, mass shootings. At least we only take a few dozen a year. And in exchange, the middle-aged man added, we protect our territories. Do you know what would happen if we didn't maintain order along this route? Others would come, Sierra said, her child's voice eerie in the darkness. Rogues, ferals, vampires with no restraint, no codes. They would drain entire towns, turn people at random, create armies of the undead. We are the dam holding back the flood, the matriarch said. Remove us, and chaos follows. I wanted to call bullshit, but something in their expressions made me hesitate. They believed it, completely. So, what? Thorne said. We're just supposed to accept that you're necessary? Let you keep killing? Not at all, the patriarch said. I'm offering you both a third option. Join us. Become vampires yourselves. Live forever. See centuries pass. Gain power beyond mortal comprehension. In exchange for becoming monsters, I said. In exchange for survival, for purpose, for family. The patriarch's expression softened slightly. You're alone, Jordan. Your parents are dead. You have no siblings, no close friends. You're tied to this desert motel with nowhere to go, nothing to live for except the slow march toward death. We can offer you so much more. He wasn't wrong. The Desert Rose was a dead end, and I'd known it for years. And you, Mr. Thorne, the matriarch said, a crusader without a cause. You've spent 3 years chasing us, sacrificing your career, your relationships, your life. What has it gotten you? Nothing but frustration and failure. Join us, and your skills would finally be appreciated. Thorne's hand tightened on his phone. How do you know about my career, my relationships? We know everything about you, Richard. We've been watching you for 2 years, since you first started noticing the patterns. Sierra smiled. Your ex-wife, Jennifer. Your estranged daughter, Emma. Your editor who thinks you're obsessed and delusional. We know it all. That's... Thorne looked sick. You've been stalking me? Research, the patriarch corrected. We like to know who's hunting us. And you, Mr. Thorne, have been quite persistent. It's almost admirable. Fuck you. Such hostility. We're trying to offer you immortality, and you respond with profanity. The patriarch sighed. Very well. If you won't join us willingly, perhaps a demonstration is in order. Sierra? The child moved forward with frightening speed. One moment she was 20 feet away, the next she was standing right in front of Thorne. She grabbed his wrist, the one holding the phone, and squeezed. Thorne screamed. I heard bones crack. Stop, I shouted, raising the rifle. Shoot me, Sierra said, not releasing Thorne's wrist. I'm curious to see if it hurts. I fired. The bullet took her in the shoulder, and she staggered back. For a moment, I thought it had worked. Then she looked down at the wound and laughed. It does hurt, she said, digging her fingers into the hole and pulling out the bullet. But not enough to matter? The wound was already closing, the flesh knitting back together before my eyes. Thorne clutched his broken wrist, tears streaming down his face. You see, the patriarch said, you can't kill us with conventional weapons. You can't call for help, we'd hear you. You can't run, we're faster. Your only options are to join us or die. So I'll ask one final time. What do you choose? I looked at Thorne, who was white with pain. Looked at the seven standing in my parking lot like some kind of nightmare family reunion. Looked at the Desert Rose, the motel that had been my prison for 4 years. And I made my choice. I need time to think, I said. 24 hours. Let us think about it. The patriarch considered this. Very well. You have until sunset tomorrow, but Mr. Thorne stays here as insurance that you won't try anything foolish. If you attempt to call the authorities or flee, we'll know, and we'll kill you both immediately. Understood? Understood. Excellent. He turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Jordan? We'll need the room cleaned in the morning. There was a rather messy feeding tonight. They walked back to room 7, Sierra skipping alongside the matriarch like a real 8-year-old going home after playing with friends. When they were gone, I helped Thorne to a chair. His wrist was badly broken, bent at an unnatural angle. We need to get you to a hospital, I said. No hospitals. They'll ask questions, file reports, and the 7 will know. He gritted his teeth against the pain. Do you have medical supplies? I did. Running a motel meant keeping a fully stocked first aid kit. I got it and did my best to splint his wrist, but I knew it needed professional attention. We have to run, Thorne said. Get in my car and drive until we hit civilization. They'll catch us. You heard them. They're faster. Then what? We just wait here to die or become monsters? No. I looked out at room 7, where light now glowed behind the blackout curtains. We fight, but smart. Using what we know about them. Which is what, exactly? Sunlight kills them. They can't enter a home without invitation. They're vulnerable when they sleep. I pulled out my laptop. And maybe, just maybe, there's more folklore that's actually true. We spent the next 6 hours researching everything we could find about vampires. Most of it was contradictory nonsense, but some patterns emerged. Decapitation might work. Fire definitely worked. Every culture agreed on that. Religious symbols were hit or miss depending on the vampire's beliefs. But silver appeared in almost every tradition. The bullets didn't work, Thorne pointed out, because they weren't pure silver. They were just lead with silver jackets. I pulled up a website for a custom ammunition shop in Carson City. But if we could get solid silver bullets, or better yet, silver blades, where are we going to get that? It's not like there's a vampire hunting supply store nearby. No, but there's a jewelry shop in town. Martinez Jewelers. My cousin runs it. They have raw silver for custom pieces. You want to melt down jewelry to make weapons? Unless you have a better idea. He didn't. At 3 a.m., I called my cousin Anna. She was not happy to be woken up. Jordan, what the hell? I need a huge favor. Can I come by the shop early tomorrow, like before you open? Why? I need to buy some silver, a lot of it. For what? A project. I'll pay double the normal price. There was a long pause. Jordan, are you in trouble? Maybe, but I can't explain right now. Can you help me or not? Another pause. Fine, come by at 7. But you owe me an explanation eventually. Deal. We spent the remaining hours fashioning a plan. It was desperate and probably doomed to fail, but it was all we had. At 6:30 a.m., we drove into town. Thorne stayed low in the back seat. We couldn't risk the 7 seeing him leave. Anna was waiting at the jewelry shop, arms crossed and looking worried. Okay, what's this about? I need 5 pounds of pure silver, ingots, scrap, whatever you have. And I need you to not ask why. She stared at me. 5 pounds? Jordan, that's like $3,000 worth of silver? I'll pay $4,000, cash. I pulled out the money from the safe. Blood money, literally, but it would save our lives. Anna looked at the cash, then at me. You're scaring me. I'm scared too. Please, Anna. I'll explain everything later, but right now I just need the silver. She went into the back room and emerged with several bags of silver pieces. This is everything I have in stock, about 6 pounds. Take it. Thank you. I handed her the cash. Jordan, be careful. Whatever this is, be careful. We drove back to the Desert Rose as the sun climbed higher. By 8 a.m., we were in my workshop behind the motel, melting silver in a kiln I used for pottery. The metal melted at 1,763 degrees Fahrenheit. It took hours to get all 6 pounds liquid, then pour it into molds I'd fashioned from clay. We made 4 items, 2 crude knives, 1 stake, and 18 bullets that would fit Thorne's 9mm pistol. We found it in his car. They weren't pretty, but they were pure silver. If the legends were true, they'd work. By 2 p.m., we were armed and as ready as we'd ever be. Here's the plan, I said. We wait until 4 p.m. That's when they're deepest in their sleep. We go into room 7, find where they're hiding, and we kill them one by one, fast and quiet. What if they wake up? Then we run, get to the car and drive like hell. Maybe we'll get far enough away before sunset. That's a terrible plan. It's the only plan we have. At 3:45 p.m., we approached room 7. I had a silver knife in the stake. Thorne had the other knife in the gun, though with his broken wrist he'd have trouble shooting. I unlocked the door with shaking hands. The room was dark and cold, that meat smell stronger than ever. We moved slowly, flashlights off, letting our eyes adjust. The closet door was closed. I pointed at it. Thorne nodded. We approached together. I counted down on my fingers. 3, 2, 1. I yanked the door open. Empty. The closet was completely empty. Where are they? Thorne whispered. Then I heard it. A slow, rhythmic breathing from above. I pointed my flashlight up. All 7 of them were clinging to the ceiling like spiders, their eyes opening in unison as the light hit them. Run! I screamed. We bolted for the door, but the patriarch dropped down in front of it, blocking our escape. The others dropped around us, forming a circle. Really, Jordan, the patriarch said, almost sadly. Did you think we wouldn't notice you planning? That we wouldn't smell the silver you've been forging? Sierra held up one of our bullets. Clever, but not clever enough. How did you... I started. We've been alive for centuries. We've survived countless hunters, countless crusades. Did you think you were the first to try silver weapons? The matriarch laughed. We've been listening to every word you've said since last night. These rooms aren't soundproof, dear. We were surrounded, armed, but completely outmatched. Last chance, the patriarch said. Join us or die. I looked at Thorne. He looked back at me. We attacked. I lunged at Sierra with the silver knife. She dodged easily, faster than my eyes could track, but I'd expected that. It was a feint. The real attack came from Thorne, who fired the 9mm at the patriarch. The silver bullet hit him in the chest, and he screamed. Actually screamed, staggering backward. It works! Thorne yelled, firing again. The second bullet hit the middle-aged man, who dropped to his knees, smoke rising from the wound. Then the teenagers were on us. The boy tackled Thorne, sending the gun flying. The girl went for me, her hands like claws. I swung the knife wildly. It caught her arm, and she shrieked, pulling back. Where the silver touched, her skin was burning, blackening. The weapons work, I shouted. We can hurt them. But there were 7 of them, and 2 of us. The middle-aged woman grabbed me from behind, her grip like iron bands. I couldn't move. The matriarch picked up the gun and examined it with curiosity. Silver bullets, how traditional. She aimed it at Thorne. Let's see how they work on humans, shall we? No. I struggled against the woman's grip. The patriarch, still smoking from his wound, held up a hand. Wait! Everyone froze. They fought well, he said, his voice pained. Bravely, cleverly. They've earned a better death than this. What do you mean? The matriarch asked. I mean, he smiled, and it was genuinely sad. I mean, perhaps the old ways are best. A challenge. Single combat. If they win, they go free. If they lose, they join us. You can't be serious, the middle-aged man said, still on his knees. They shot us with silver. Yes, and it hurt like hell, but we're still alive, still healing. The patriarch pulled the bullet from his chest and dropped it on the floor. Silver wounds us, but doesn't kill us. Not quickly enough to matter. He turned to me. One of you, one of us. Fight to the death. If you win, you both go free and we leave this place forever. If you lose, you both accept the gift and join our family. Do you accept? It was a trap. Had to be. But what choice did we have? I accept, I said. No, Thorne said. I'll fight. This is my crusade. With a broken wrist, you'd lose in seconds. I looked at the patriarch. I'll fight, but I choose my opponent. Fair enough? Who? I looked at Sierra, the smallest, the youngest looking, surely the weakest. Her. Sierra smiled that terrible smile. Me? Really? You. Oh, Jordan, you've made a terrible mistake. I may look like a child, but I'm 176 years old. I've killed more people than you can imagine. She picked up the silver knife I'd dropped. But if you insist, let's make this interesting. The others stepped back, forming a circle. Thorne tried to protest, but the teenager boy held him in place. Sierra and I faced each other across the motel room. Rules are simple, the patriarch said. Fight until one of you can't continue. No interference from the rest of us. When I win, Sierra said, you'll both join us, and you'll thank me for it eventually. The first century is hard, but after that, it gets easier. I'm not losing, I said, gripping the silver stake. We'll see. She moved first, crossing the distance between us in a blink. I barely got the stake up in time to block her knife. We struggled, strength against strength. She was impossibly strong for her size, but I had weight and leverage. I pushed her back and swung the stake. She dodged, the silver passing within inches of her face. Close, she laughed, but not close enough. We circled each other. I was breathing hard already. She wasn't breathing at all. She lunged again, the knife aimed at my throat. I twisted away, but the blade caught my shoulder, cutting deep. I gasped in pain. First blood, she said. How does it feel, knowing you're about to lose? I'm not done yet. I charged her, abandoning finesse for desperation. We crashed into the wall together, and I drove the stake toward her chest. She caught my wrist, stopping it an inch from her heart. Nice try. She twisted my arm, and I felt something pop in my shoulder. The stake fell from my nerveless fingers. This was it. I was going to lose, going to die or worse, become like them. Then I remembered something. The symbols on the bathroom mirror. The strange writing. I'd photographed them, researched them, found a translation on an obscure folklore site. They were a binding ritual, a way to trap vampires, and I'd memorized the words. As Sierra raised the knife for the killing blow, I started chanting, Sanguis ad sanguinem, mortis ad mortem, vinctus es in terra. Her eyes went wide. Stop! Stop that now! Servus es pacti, catenatus es verbo. She screamed, dropping the knife and clutching her head. The other vampires surged forward, but the patriarch held them back. The rules, he said grimly. No interference. I kept chanting, the Latin words flowing from my tongue like I'd known them my whole life. Maybe I had. Maybe my mother had whispered them to me as a child, insurance in case I ever needed them. Donec sol te consumat, donec terra te reclamet. Sierra collapsed, writhing on the floor. Black veins spread across her skin like cracks in porcelain. "What are you doing to her?" the matriarch shrieked. "Binding ritual," I said, my voice hoarse. "It traps vampires, makes them vulnerable." I picked up the silver stake. Sierra looked up at me, and for the first time, I saw real fear in her eyes. "Please," she whispered. "Please don't. I was 8 years old when I died. I didn't choose this. I've been a child for almost 2 centuries. Please." I hesitated. "She'll kill you the moment she's free," Thorn said. "They all will. You have to do it." He was right, but looking at her, really looking at her, I saw the child she'd been, trapped forever, never growing up, never changing. "I'm sorry," I said. I drove the stake through her heart. She screamed once, a sound of pure agony, then began to crumble. Her skin turned to ash, her body disintegrating from the wound outward. Within seconds, there was nothing left but dust and the faint smell of old roses. Silence. The remaining 6 vampires stared at the pile of ash that had been Sierra. Then, the patriarch began to laugh. "Well done," he said, actually applauding. "Well done indeed. You won, fair and square." "Then we're free to go," I said, my whole body shaking. "You are, as promised." He gestured to the door. "But before you leave, I want you to understand something. Sierra was the youngest of us, the weakest, the most human, and you had to use an ancient binding ritual just to make her vulnerable enough to kill." He stepped forward, and I saw that his bullet wound was completely healed. "There are 6 of us left. We are older, stronger, and far less merciful. If you try to hunt us again, if you tell anyone what you've learned here, we will return. And next time, there will be no challenges, no fair fights, just death." "I understand," I said. "Do you? Because I don't think you do." He leaned close, his black eyes boring into mine. "We've been protecting this region for 60 years, keeping the truly dangerous ones away, the ferals, the ancients, the ones who would turn entire towns just for sport. Without us, this place becomes open territory. Within a year, the population of your little town would be 0. Everyone dead or turned. Do you want that on your conscience?" "You're bluffing." "Am I?" He smiled. "There's one way to find out. Break the pact. Tell the world about us. See what happens." He turned to leave, the others following. At the door, he paused. "The offer remains open, Jordan. When you grow tired of your mortal life, when you're ready for something more, we'll be waiting. We travel this route every year, remember?" Then they were gone, loading into the Cadillac and driving off into the sunset. Thorn and I stood there for a long time, staring at the dust that had been Sierra. "We should tell someone," he finally said. "The FBI, the media, someone." "And say what? That we killed a vampire who'd been 8 years old for 200 years? They'd lock us up. There's the dust, physical evidence. Dust, that's all it is now. No DNA, no proof of what it was. So we just let them go? Let them keep killing?" I looked out at Highway 50, the loneliest road in America. Thought about all the small towns and isolated motels along its length. Thought about what the patriarch had said about others coming if they fell. "We let them go," I said. "For now. But I'm going to research that binding ritual, learn more about how to fight them, and someday, when I'm ready, when I have a real plan." "You'll hunt them," Thorn finished. "I'll hunt them all." That was 3 months ago. Thorn left the next day, his wrist in a proper cast, his research destroyed. He calls sometimes to check in, to share information he's found. He's building a new database, more careful this time. I'm still running the Desert Rose, still cleaning Room 7, though no one stayed there since that night. The sheriff closed the Sarah Vance case as an unsolved disappearance. Her car was eventually impounded and sold at auction. And I'm still here, in the middle of the Nevada desert, waiting. Because they'll be back next August. They always come back, and when they do, I'll be ready. I've spent 3 months learning everything I can about vampires, about binding rituals and ancient magic, about weaknesses and vulnerabilities. I've collected silver weapons, made contacts with other hunters Thorne has found, built a network. The Covenant of Seven think they've won, think they've scared me into submission. They're wrong. I'm not my parents. I'm not my grandfather. I won't maintain their blood pact out of fear. I'm going to end them. All 6 of them. It might take years. It might cost me my life. But I made a promise to myself the night I killed Sierra. No more innocent people would die to feed them. No more deals with monsters. So if you're reading this, if you're traveling Highway 50 late at night and you see an old black Cadillac, don't stop. Don't help them. Don't get in the car. Because the Covenant of Seven are still out there, hunting along America's loneliest roads. But so am I. And this time, I'm the one doing the hunting.